Welcome to day one, part two of Excel Virtually Global 2023. We've got Miguel, Felix.
Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
let me just share my screen. So everyone, welcome to Excel Virtually Global 2023. It's a pleasure to be here, to be invited once again to be part of this event, especially when part of it is for charity. So don't forget to support your local charity, the one that you prefer. So that's also important. And I'm Miguel Felix. I'm from Portugal. I am currently a lead BI architect at iLink Digital. I work with Power BI since 2015 and have a finance background for almost 20 years. Approximately 2 years ago, I was invited to be a full-time developer on Power BI, and that's how I got this role currently at iLink. So I currently develop end-to-end solutions for our customers in terms of Power BI, and also currently we are starting with Fabric. That is also a big thing that is currently everyone is looking at. So you can reach me out through my LinkedIn, through the email, or also in my blog post where I share some tips, some information about Power BI, about DEX, about Power Query. So it's in Portuguese, but the Google Translate and all those tools work pretty well. So if you need any tips or any information, don't forget to check. So today we are going to talk about custom visuals, think inside the box. So basically this is, basically we are talking about how to do custom visualizations with the standard visualizations. So although custom visualizations are very interesting to improve our storytelling, there are some performance issues that we can suffer, and also some support that can disappear over time. I have an example, for example, that a few times ago I used the Charticulator visualization in a Power BI report, and it was taken out from the store, and the support is no longer active. So that impacts our performance and our reports. Just a quick history that I have on this was on the beginning that I started with Power BI. I had a colleague of mine that approached me because he had a report that only had some card visualizations, around 20, and took 5 minutes, that was counted on the clock, 5 minutes to update everything. When I looked into the report, it doesn't seem anything unusual because it was just card visualizations. However, when I looked a little bit better to what he was using the card visualization by OKVs. That is a custom visual that allows not only to have the value for that specific metric we are using, but also trends during time, conditional formatting, and so on. And although it has all those features, they were just using it to show the measure. When we changed that to the standard visualization of Power BI, everything updated in less than 5 seconds. So this showed a really good example of how performance can be affected by using custom visuals. Not saying they are bad, there are specific custom visuals that are very good. Currently, the performance issues are getting less and less because the support is much higher, but it can happen. And the main question is, when we change versions on Power BI, they can be deprecated in terms of the support we have. So please be careful while using them. Not saying not to use them, but we need to be careful. So this target audience is for beginners and intermediates, because are the ones that usually struggle the most with the usage of the custom visuals. And I remember the first time I was presented with the custom visuals, I wanted to try them all, and it's a normal path to do that, but we need to be careful, as I was saying. So in this session, we'll try to show some of the examples we have here. So a rotated gauge chart, a stacked bar chart with a dynamic center line, also again chart, and if we have time, we'll do a calendar view, and I will also show you how we can do a tachometer, or speedometer, depending on where you are. You can have that two options to be called. So let's go to Power BI, and let's start by looking at our rotate gauge chart. So I have over here a small gauge chart. This is the standard visualization of Power BI, as you can see. So nothing over here that is out of the ordinary. The only thing I did was to have this metric that is based on a what if parameter that is picking up only this value. So it's a simple thing, nothing too complicated. But as you can see, it's interactive and it works properly. It's the standard one. The question over here that sometimes appears that people don't like this to be in the horizontal, and maybe they want to have it in the vertical or even inverted position. So how can we do this? Let's look at this in a simple way. Let's simplify this. So we can have, as I said, custom visuals that are online that allows you to do a lot of things. But in this case, let's use a standard visualization and let's pick up a donut chart. Before we continue with the calculations and the metrics that we need to use for this donut chart, let's just understand how the donut chart works, okay? So if we pick up over here a category for this donut chart, and let me just see, I think I have over here, I don't have over here on this one, but let me just change this really quickly. If I pick up over here, for example, the month, if I put it over here and I add it also as a legend, you can see that if I do a sorting on this, 1 month, let me just do over here simple count so that it makes this much more easier to read. Let me just sort by ascending order. We can see that the donut chart or the pie chart rotates in clockwise motion. So we start with a 1. In this case, we are having the axis sorted by ascending order. So we start in 1 and we go all the way to the 12. If we do the descending order, we start in the 12, always going into the same clockwise rotation. So based on this, we can now create our gauge chart that is with a rotated visual. In this case, we want to present the gauge chart in this right side of our pie chart, of our donut chart in this case. So let's see what we can do. So let's just take out the information that we have over here and let's see what we did over here. So looking into our, just go over here, into our gauge chart, I have created some measures. So the first one is the percentage that we are going to use. So this is based on the incremental. As I said, this incremental is a what if parameter, just a generate series that increases one value at a time. So as you can see, so it goes from 0 to 100%. So nothing special. And this metric over here, the percentage uses, is basically the incremental value times 100. Okay, so we can add this to our chart, and as you can see, now everything is we have 80%. As you can see, this matches the same 80 that we have over here. Since this is a donut chart, everything is filled out. So let's continue to add some more layers to this. Then we need to pick up the value that comes from this difference, in this case 20%. This 20% is calculated by doing several areas, but we already are going to show what this does, okay? But let's see this first blank area. So this first blank area basically is each one has 50. So 50, why? Because this chart is, the maximum is 100. We want to split this into 2. So if we only use half of the chart, we need to have 100% on the right side and 100% on the left side. So we are doing this as a base of 100. So we have over here 2 areas that are 50%. I will show you why I did 2 areas and not a single one with 50% with 50, with a value of 50 in a further iteration of this chart, but these two are exactly the same. Okay, so let's add these two blank areas over here. And as you can see, we are starting to have our chart filled out. As you can see, as I said in the beginning, this always rotates clockwise, so it's important to have this order. So the first one we need to add is the percentage used, and then the blank areas will be the two last one. In the end, we have also the other filling area that basically is not more than the sum of our two blank areas. In this case, it will be 100 minus our percentage used. The percentage used, as I said, is 80, so this value will return 20. So if I add this over here, if I add this over here in the order, now I have, as you can see, I have the two values. So if I look into this one, I have 80, I have 20 on this one, then 50 and 50. Now let's start by making some adjustments over here so that everything gets according. As you can also see, if I change this value, the percentages also get updated. So these two blank areas will always be filled out in the same way, although this right side of the pie chart is already updating. So we can see that when we look at the data, it's getting the exact same fill rate as we have on this curve chart. So now let's start by making some visual changes. So the easiest ones are the blank areas. So the blank areas, we don't need any color. Let's put this as white. We also don't need to have, for now, the details, so we can turn that off. So now it's already looking much better and similar to what we have. And then we can just update this with the color. Let me just do over here, select the color so that I can, in fact, have the same color. So if I go over here and change this one to the new color, and now on the other filling, if I add over here the gray, as you can see, now I already have my chart looking very similar to the one we have before, but instead of having it on the horizontal on top, we have it in a vertical layout, so rotated to the left side. As you can see, everything is working. Now, if you want, you can just add a card visualization over here on top of this with our percentage, with our incremental value, because it's already formatted as percentage. And if we add this over here and just take out the call out value and put it behind, let's send this to the back. As you can see, now we can have our formatted chart. Okay, so this is the first interaction of this chart, as I said. Now we just need to play around a little bit. So if I want this to be rotated down, I just need to play with these two blank areas. So if I change the sort, the location of these two blank areas, as you can see, now the chart rotated to the left and we have the values at the bottom. So let me just go back to the coloring so that you can see in detail those two areas. Let's put one on each color, for example. And as you can see, what is happening over here is that the chart is being filled out according to the rotation. As I said, I split this into two different parts of 50-50 in order to do this interaction of the chart, because we could also, if we only had a single, if we didn't want to rotate it down, we only wanted to rotate it to the left or to the right. If we go over here and just change one of these areas to 100, as I was saying, and now we can take out the other one. Let me just put this like this. Just show. So this is 100, this is 50, and this one needs to be 0. Okay, so that the sum that we have over here on the other filling gets correct. As you can see, it still works. Okay, so the idea over here was to be more flexible in terms of the usage of our chart, and using these two areas, I can then rearrange my visualization in order to have it rotate to the left, rotate to the right, and so on. So in this case, we are rotating it to to the bottom, and we can even, if we move it over here, we can even rotate it to the left. And we can even change this order, and we have it now always starting at the top. So this is the first visualization that I wanted to show. As you can see, using a standard visual that is pretty much easy to set up and without big information that we need to set up, that we need to define, sorry, we can have a gauge chart that is rotating, and we can even do different things. Of course, we could even add over here a parameter that allowed us to define this this rotating into a different evaluation. For example, if I want to have this rotated at the 45 level instead of having it in a completely flat area, let me just put it like this. If we change this like this, if I change these two values to be different, so if the number 3 will be 25 and the number 4 will be 75, for example, now I have the chart with the tilted information, and it's interesting to see how we can have this rotating effect. Okay, so this is the first one that we are looking at, and we need to be advised on just small tweaks. For example, over here we have, as you can see in the details, we have that it corresponds to 73, but it's 36.5%. What we need to do is to add over here a custom tip that allows us to have only the 73% instead of having these two values. But this is easy to update. For example, if over here on the tooltips, we just make the change to add a specific value or a specific tooltip. So just small tweaks that we can do so that we can have the correct values. Okay, let's go to the next one. In the next one, so this came from a question in the community, basically, and not sure if you can, let's just look a little bit into detail into this chart. So basically what the user had, and let me just move this line over here. The user had a chart similar to this, so with all the categories and the value per category, and he had a center line. In this case, I'm putting it at 88, but we can put it at 100. And this 100 was fixed in his chart. And what he wanted to show was this 100 value as an axis on his chart, and then the values for this axis were the difference for the actual value. So in this case, if we are looking into this category A, instead of showing 134 as a full bar, he wanted only to show the value from the 100 until the 34. In the second category, the B, he wanted to show the value from the 100 until the 68. So it was more or less like showing only the difference to the our center axis, in this case 100, but we can also do it into any other option. So in this case, I did it to be associated to this what if parameter also, to be easier to understand the impact. But let's see what we can do on this. So let's start by looking into what we have. So we should have, to make this work, we should have, instead of having a normal bar chart, and we can use a cluster bar chart over here, no problem, we need to have a stacked bar chart. This will allow us to split our calculations into several ones. So we need to have the values below 100. Okay, so this, for example, in this case, let me just put this back to 100. So in this case, if we look at in category A, we would have a bar with values from 0 to 100. Then values that are below 100, but not quite 100. In this case, for category B, it would be 68. So we are currently talking about two values. So one that is the 68, another one that will go from the 68 until the 100, or if any, it will return to 100, and then the value above 100. Okay, so let's start by looking in the measures that we created for this stack bar chart. So let's start by the first one that we have over here. So the first one is the values that are below 100. And let's start by seeing this. So basically what I'm doing here is if the value, the sum is less than our center value, and this center value is this incremental that we have over here. As you can see, it's just a generate series as the previous one, but it goes incremental until 200, okay? So this center value is the metric where we select the specific value. If that value, sorry, I was below 100, if that value is lower or higher than the center value, then return me the sum of that value. If not, return blank. Let's put this in this chart and see what happens. So if I create a new stack bar chart over here, sorry, this one, and if I put a new stack bar chart over here, and if I add this metric with the category that I need, so if I add the category as my y-axis, as I can see over here, I have 100, 100, 100, and this value, since this is lower, just go back. I put this one, I want the below 100. Let me just also show all the values with no items and just sort this by category. And ascending. Okay, as you can see, if we compare the two charts, when we are talking about category A, we have no value because this value is higher than 100. For category B, I have the value of 68, and the same for category C. And if I go at the bottom, the last one is the 92 of category R. So I'm showing all the values that are below 100, okay? Now we need to pick up the values that are from this 68 until 100 so that we can have our bar starting to be filled up until the center axis. So if I look into the 100 value, until 100 values, I can see that this is the exact opposite of the other one. So the other one was just, if it's lower, then it returns me the sum of the stack values. On this one, if it's the sum, if it's lower, then I will have the difference between my center value, in this case 100, and the total value of that var. So let's add this one also to our chart. Let's see what happens. So as you can see, in all the values that are within categories that are below 100, I have already the two values filled out. So one is for category B, 68, and the other one is 32. There is the remaining value until 100. And if I change this, as you can see, everything starts to compose itself. Even if I go to 0, no values match. Why? Because all of them are above 0, okay? If I go to the opposite, that is 200. Every single category appears correctly, okay? So let's move this back to 100. So let's see our next one. Our next one is the values that are exactly 100. So why? Because all the other categories that I don't see over here replicated are the ones that are values above 100. So this is pretty easy to see. So if the value of the stack var is over our center value, then returns the center value. So if we put this one on our chart, then we get every single line is filled out. So as you can see, we have category A with 100, category B with two values, 68 and 32, and so on. So now we need to pick up just our final part, that is the total above the 100. So that total above the 100 is this last one. That is exactly the same thing as we did on the previous one. So we are picking up the values that are greater than the center value, and then subtracting them to our center value. If I add this one to my chart, as you can see now, I have everything presented in a way that we can show. So if I move this back to 0, as you can see, our chart is pretty much similar to the other one. Let me just make it with the same size really quickly. So as you can see, the chart is exactly the same. Everything moves out together. So now let's start making our formatting. So first of all, as I said, we wanted to show only the difference to the center axis, above or below. So as you can see, in this case, I want to highlight the ones that are currently yellow and black. So let's do our formatting as I was saying. So if we go over here to our colors, to our bars, so below 100%, I don't want to show anything. So everything will be blanked out. Values until 100, we also don't want to see it. So this one will also be blacked out. And as you can see, this is looking better. If I move this back to 0, the chart once again is showing as we needed. So no issue. So let's put this back to 100. And now we just need to color these two. So let's put it with the same color, exactly with the same color. And now I have a chart that shows me, let's turn off the legend, we don't need it. We have a chart that shows the values that we have for each one of the that are above or below. But the question over here is, how can I show this to be that the labels are correct? So in this case, let's just do a simple thing over here. Let's add over here the total labels. But if we do this, as you can see, in the ones that we have, higher than 100, they are matching. The ones that are below 100, they are not matching. So we need to do over here a small change. Instead of connecting the total labels, let's just turn off the labels over here for our two specific ones. In this case, I want to show the values that are. Let's turn this off. Let's turn them all off for now. And let's just pick up. Let's start by the ones that are below 100. If I turn this on, let me just put this in black. As you can see, now we have the values for this one. So the 68, the 89, let's just put them together over here inside. And so if I do this, I have my values connected to our indication. Let me just put this to 100 once again. So as you can see, and as I showed you before, if I turn on the total labels, I'm getting values that are much higher. Sorry, it's not turning on, just a second. As you can see, when I turn on the labels, the specific data labels, sorry, having an issue over here, not really sure what is happening, not responding. Okay, let's turn it off, let's turn this on. And as you can see, I have an issue because everything is showing the values. We can do one of two things. We can just make over here a conditional formatting. Okay, this is the current option that we already have. The other option that we have is to turn off this one and then create over here one for the labels above 100. So if my value is higher than my center value, then just return me that center value. If I do this and I add this one to my chart, I now have another one that I am showing over here. This bar, this additional bar, can then be also cleared out. Our label for this bar can be turned on also at the specific value. Let's put it in this case. Let's add it all the way to the right, to the left side. So let's put it inside the base. And over here, we need to do a different, an additional step, that is to go to our axis, our x-axis, and just add over here the maximum of 200, because this is the maximum I have for this chart also. And if I do it like this, as you can see now, my bars are making the highlight based on my stacked center line and not on the one. So as I said, We can now play along with all the conditional formatting, adding some values, removing some values. We can also, once again, we need to take into account that the tooltips may need to be updated, because if I do it one by one, if I go through all the categories that I have, I can see that I have 110, 24 instead of the 134, and so on. But it's a workaround so that we can have a different visual. This is all using standard visualization, so there is no chance that this will break in the future. At least the main criteria that are used for this bar chart, this stacked bar chart, is working properly, and we don't have any issues with performance in the case we have different views. Okay, so this is also another option that we have so that we can have a different way of showing our data. Let's go to the Gantt chart. If we go to the store, and if we check, if we want to get more visuals, we can see that we have a lot of Gantt charts over here. Some of them have more details and less details, but most of them usually are very complex in terms of our data set can need to be, or we are not fully aware of all the things that we need to have. So if we enter on one of them, as you can see, they have a lot of details, and sometimes we don't need all these details. We just need a simple calculation that shows our Gantt. So in this case, I have a simple table where I have the start of the project and I have the task and the user. In this case, John Smith and Mary Jane, both are on the start of the project. One starts on January 3rd and ends by the 12th of January, and the other one is a little bit less time on this project. Each one of these users has already filled out the average percentage for the time that they need. And let's see how we can build a Gantt chart that is usable by everyone with a simple setup. For this Gantt chart, as I said, we are going to have all this information in a simple way, in a simple matrix, so the use case of the matrix. We also have a calendar table. This calendar table, as we can see over here, is just a simple table that has the date. Then we have the months, the years, the quarters, the day, month name, end of week, day of week, and so on. We can reuse this as many times as we need. But in this case, we need to fill out a table that has, let's start by creating a matrix. Let's put it over here. And we need to have, in this case, let's start by putting in over here. Let's put the month on our columns and our date. Okay, if we do this, and now if I drill down, as you can see, we have all our days within this month. We have over here the slicer that allows us to reduce the time frame that we have. So, okay, everything is normal up to here. Now let's continue with our data. So now what we want to show is for each task that we have, we show what are the time frames that we have. So if we go over here to our Gantt chart, as I said, we had our Gantt table is just very simple. So we need to use these tasks and the users that we have. So let's add in our rows, let's add the task, okay? As you can see now, we are getting issues, okay? This is and the user. We are getting issues because if we check, it says that Power BI cannot determine a relationship. So we need to create a metric to see what we have. So, and I've created this metric, this simple metric that is only a usage by user. And basically this metric is comparing the calendar date with the Gantt start and end date. So in this first line, we check if the calendar date is lower than our max value on the start date. And on the second one, we check if the calendar date is higher than the Gantt chart. If this happens, so if it's outside our start date, so looking into, let's just pull this a little bit over here to the bottom so that we can see. So basically, when we are looking at this specific user, if my calendar date is lower than January 3rd or higher than January 12th, I will get blank. Otherwise, I will get a value of 1. So let's just put this on our matrix. Let's just select our matrix. Let's put this over here. Now we have some values. Now let's look into the information. So we are over here at the test level. So let's check what is our first date. So our first date is January 3rd. Okay, this starts at January 5th. Let's look. Why? Because over here we selected the max of the Gantt chart. So since I have more than one level, I need to change this to a minimum value. If I change this to a minimum value, as you can see, now I have this starting on January 3rd and ending until January 12th. So until the 12th. If I go at the row level, a level down, at the user level, I can see that this is also matching. So we have for Mary Jane from the 5th until the 7th, so everything is working. Now we just need to do a little conditional formatting. In this case, the conditional formatting was based on the percentage of usage. And what I did over here, we have the average, that is a simple average of the percentage complete. So this average percentage is just the average of each one of these values. So if I look at my color coding, I see if the user is equal to 1, so basically if this value within our matrix, and let me just increase this a little bit, is 1, then let me check what is my average that I have. So in the first case, I have that if the average is lower than 65%, then give me red. If it's lower than 80%, then yellow. Otherwise, let's do green. So now we just need to go over here and do some tweaking. So first of all, let's start by taking out the total on the columns and also on the rows. So over here, we don't need this one. We still need this one. That is the overall one, and we can show this per row level. We don't need it at the user level. Sorry, we don't need it at the task level because the task level will turn off the lower level, but we need it at user. Why? So that we can pick up at each task what is our completion and what is our values. So if we do this, we already have a pretty similar value to what we need. And now let's just do the specific cell element. We need to turn on the background based on our color. So let's search over here for our color coding. If I do this, I already have some values. And now let's also do our font with the exact same one. And if I do this color coding, now I have my chart showing as I need. So if I go up one level, this is also matching. As you can see, what happens over here is that if we look into, you can say, oh, but when I open, when I drill down at the specific level, then the top one gets uncolored. Okay, this is a specific question about the matrix visualization. That if we are on at the second level of the visualization, or third or fourth, the top row is not conditional formatting. We can then use different ways to make this change. But as you can see, basically we can have a calculation that shows us exactly our in this case, our project is going, and we can see that the start of the project is almost finalized. Between, if you remember, our color coding was, if the average was below 80%, then it gets yellow. Since I have one that is 80, the other one is 100, we are having an average of 90%, so this is already green because someone is already above the 80%. So basically, in a very simple way, using the visual that we already have, we can do this. To finalize, and I think we still have around 10 minutes, To finalize this, I made I will show you how you can present the information in a different way. Let's show a calendar view. Calendar view is always difficult for us to obtain in Power BI, but there is also, if you go to the custom visuals and if you search, you can also find some custom visuals that are date pickers or calendars or so on. So there is a lot of visualizations to choose. But let's use, as I said, the current visuals that we have. So let's once again select over here our matrix. Based on our calendar, let's start by selecting our month name to be on the rows. Okay, let's start by having the rows over here. If I take this out, you can see we have all the rows. We also have a column that is the week. Okay, let's add this week to our rows also. So now we have for each month, we have the number of the week that we need. And then on our columns, let's use simply the day of the week. And we have a column over here that is the day of the week. And if you do this, now we have every single day of the week from Sunday until Saturday to all the weeks. Okay, let's check what we can do now. One thing that we can do is simply add our day into our values. If I do this, now I have over here, as you can see, let's just do one thing. Let's keep this one as is. Let me just check. I think I did one value over here. Yeah, let's change this, because when we use only the day as our values, we get the sum or the average and so on. We don't want that. We want just on that specific day to get that calendar. So we selected the value of the calendar day. Okay, if we add this, we get all our calendar. So I already know that on Sunday, the 1st of January was a Sunday, and so on. So if we go to today, if everything is correct, today is the 10th of October, so it's a Tuesday, so this is matching, so our calendar is working perfectly. Now let's see what we can do. What I also created over here for our calendar was a metric that is the usage calendar. So this usage calendar is it's not a simple one. We can do this in different ways. You can split this out into several metrics. But basically, if you look at this top part, this is exactly the same thing we had on the previous one. So if the calendar date is lower or higher than the start date, or if it's higher than the start date, or if it's lower than the end date, then we get a certain result. That is basically the name of the user. Then we get a line break, and then we add over here a small space in the middle, and then we get the task. So if we just put this one on our calendar, as you can see now, what I have over here is, for example, John Smith started the project on the 3rd of January. Okay. As you can see also, first we have currently the metrics side by side. Now let's start formatting all of this so that we can have the correct information. So let's start by one thing that we need is show the values on rows. Let's turn this on. If we do this, this is already looking a little bit more easier to the eyes. And let's go to the rows options also. And let's over here turn off the step indentations. This will allow us to have over here the January and the week. Okay, let's also let's search for the word wrap, because we need to change some things, and let's take out the word wrap on all of them. Okay, and now we can start playing around. So this column, the calendar value that shows the names of the matrix, we don't need them. So if we just resize them, we also don't need the row and the column subtotals. And now we just need to, sorry, I did one thing that we need to keep in terms of the wrap. We need to keep it in terms of the values. Okay, so that on each row we have the correct values. Okay, so let's just highlight this a little bit. And as you can see, now I have a calendar table that is looking okay. We can now just format this a little bit better. If you go over here, go to that specific column, let's select the calendar value, let's put it in the middle with a little bit of a background and white text. We can even, okay, this one is looking good. In terms of our rows, we can go over here to our grid, can go over here to our alternate back color and turn this into white. And then we can also go to the user's calendar. And if we want, we can change, for example, the text to green, and the alignment can also be to the left. So, and as you can see, we just need then to align a little bit better. As you can see, now we have a calendar table that we can now use. If we change the month, we have for the next month, we also have the calculation, and we can have this visualization. Again, a standard visualization, we make some changes, and we have everything set up. This also works in different options. Now we just need to set up a few configuration to be as you want. So we can we can increase the values over here, so we have it a little bit more clear. We can do all sorts of formatting. So basically, this is what we can do with standard visualization. And as I said, we also have another one. This one is a little bit trickier, but as you can see, we have a tachometer over here. I'm not getting into details into this one, but as you can see, using a standard visualization, and that this is the donut chart, I was able to create this tachometer or speedometer, as you want to call it, that has this line that is changing accordingly to our calculation. So if we look into the calculations, we have a lot of calculations that we need to do. Why? Because, as I said, they always start from the top right and then going clockwise. So we need to have questions about the ones that are above or below the marker. So, and there is a lot of calculations, but this is just for you to see. It's something simple that we can do with a custom visual, but those custom visuals can sometimes not be performance and can be have some issues in terms of future updates on Power BI and in terms of the same of the visualization itself. Some of them, as I said, also are not can be taken out of the app source store, but then they can also be have to be paid. So sometimes we need to think outside of the box a little bit without leaving the box. So that's why this session was called Think Inside the Box. Don't know if we have any questions or not. Let me just check over here on the chat.
There's been a couple of questions that have come in.
Oh, okay, so I can answer them, no problem.
Yeah, the first one says, in terms of performance, if we change a lot of the default chart settings, will it slow down?
No, the settings on the default charts are not slowing down. What can impact the performance in terms of the chart is the DAX calculations we have. Of course, if we are looking into conditional formatting, it may impact a little bit, but it's not significant. Okay, so if your DAX measure is already performant, it will not impact your visualization at all, because we are just tweaking some minor settings on the chart, so nothing will be really impacted.
Thank you. And there was one more, which was, can we create different target lines for different bars, like on a bullet chart?
We are talking about this one, right? Yes.
I believe so,
Depending on what we need to do, we can create more lines. Depends, again, this also depends on what we want to achieve and how we want to achieve it. For example, one option that we have, in this case, we created this line to be centered, but the more lines we add to this, and we can add them, no problem, the more difficult can be to create all the measures. In this case, let me just go back over here. We are using the constant line, okay? It's a simple one. It's nothing. Sorry, in this case, we are adding the constant line. We can add more than, we can add over here, let me just check. On this one, we can add then maximums, we can add minimums. All of these values, as you can see, can be then associated with specific values. Let me just go back over here. We can add more lines, more constants, as you can see. If we add more constant lines, and each one will have its own value. So let me just do it like this. If I add this one over here, 105, for example, do you see we have two values and so on. So the more lines we want to add, the difficulty is we need to create more measures so that everything gets in the correct place. But it's possible, yes. This is similar to what we had over here in the tachometer. As I showed you, we have a lot of measures. Why? Because all of these spaces between below this black line and after this black line needs to be considered. So the more lines I want, the more measures probably I need to implement. Okay. Thank you for the opportunity. Hope you enjoyed it, and that this helps anyone to implement to storytell their data in a better way. And once again, enjoy the rest of the sessions, and thank you for having me.
Thank you very, very much for your time. It's been a pleasure.